Hello crafty friends, and welcome to this clean and simple card making video. Today I'm going to use this sketch from our June sketch booklet, and I'm going to use the colours from this colour card which I introduced back in Mojo May. I'll leave a link to that video down below. So my sketch has two triangles on it and a nice big area of white space with just a sentiment in the middle. The colour card I created from a photo I took of my daughter a long time ago now when she was wearing some wellies, and I picked three colours from it. And those colours I matched with my Catherine Pooler inks and my Distress Oxides and wrote the name on the back. For today's card I decided to work with my Catherine Pooler inks. I've got Rose Petals, Sparkling Berry and Serenade. Rose Petals is a red, Sparkling Berry is a red violet, and Serenade is a blue violet. These are analogous colours, they're near to each other on the colour wheel, which means they look really nice together and they also blend well together, they won't make mud. The first thing I did was take two pieces of mixed media paper and I blended Rose Petals onto one of them and Serenade onto another. I use mixed media paper because I find the Catherine Pooler inks blend really well on mixed media paper. Something about the coating on the paper helps the inks smooth out better than any of my other cardstocks. Once I'd covered the papers in the two inks, I decided to add some pattern using stencils. So on the Rose Petals coloured card, I stenciled through a damask stencil using the Sparkling Berry. I held the stencil in place with a bit of washi tape just so it wouldn't shift around while I was vigorously stenciling. On the Serenade card, I stenciled with a kind of dashed mixed media-esque type stencil, and I used Serenade again, and I just made sure to put enough ink through the stencil so the pattern would show up really well, because this is Serenade on top of Serenade. On the Serenade coloured card I also spattered on some lilac or violet coloured metallic paint for a bit of extra visual texture and some shimmer and shine. I then neatened up the edges of these bits of card so that I could cut my triangles from them more easily. I wanted all the corners to be proper right angles. I then pulled out my rule of thirds acetate grid and marked where I wanted to cut. Now ignore what I'm doing now, I cut it in the wrong place to start with. I initially made a mark a third of the way down on the right when I should have made a mark halfway down on the right. Fortunately that was an easy mistake to correct, and I just chopped my triangle again and it was the right size. For the pink card, I made a mark at the intersection of the bottom line with the right hand line, and then another mark 2/3 of the way up on the left hand side, and sliced this using my guillotine again. And then I put the two triangles together, laid them on a card blank to get them in the right place, and then drew a line where they met. I then used my trimmer again to slice the pink bit. I could have just glued the purple bit of card on top of the pink bit of card, but I wanted to keep them level with each other, so I sliced the pink bit down, which enabled me to just butt it up against the angle of that purple triangle. I glued these down to a piece of linen textured white cardstock, and this will eventually form the front panel of my card. And there I'm just showing you that the pink and purple triangles kind of intersect at that intersection point. I wanted to edge my triangles with some gold glitter to bring in a bit of bling, so I used a strip die to cut some strips, and I firstly stuck the purple one down with some glue. And then I took another strip and laid it along the edge of the pink one and drew a pencil mark where I needed to cut it to get it at the right angle to be flush with the other bit of gold. I hope that makes sense. I do end up sticking something over this point where the two bits meet, so it wasn't that critical that I got the angle exactly right. Again, I glued that down with some high-tack PVA glue, school glue, wood glue, Elmer's glue, white glue, whatever you call it wherever you are. I do like this glue because it is high-tack and it holds things in place even before it's dry. I snipped off the overhang roughly with a pair of scissors, making sure that everything was glued down properly. And then I took a stitched rectangle die and placed it in the middle of my panel and held it in place with washi tape before running it through my die cutting machine. I did need to do some extra cutting with my guillotine though, because in places the die was trying to cut through 3 pieces of cardstock and it wasn't quite able to do that. And with something like this, it's really easy just to pop it in your trimmer and carefully slice along the indentation that the die has left. The die did leave the lovely stitching around the edge though, all the way around, which is what I wanted. To stick this to my card blank, I used tape runner. And as you can see, everything's in the right place. To embellish my card, I made a bow out of the same gold glitter cardstock. I cut it out 3 times. The first bit I stuck on a hole on that intersection, just again with a little bit of glue. I then took a second piece and trimmed off everything except 2 of the loops. These are the ones that are going to go on top. And then I took the third one, trimmed everything else off to leave the bottom 2 loops of the bow, and then I stuck those extra bits on top. So my bow's got quite a bit of dimension, it's got layers. For a knot, I used a hole punch to punch a little circle, which I then dipped in glue and popped on top of the bow. You can see the detail of this in the photos at the end of the video. For my sentiment, I used another of our free printables this month. I die cut a You're Amazing using a small stitched rectangle die and glued it on the card, a third of the way in from the right and a third of the way down from the top, using my T-square ruler to make sure it was on straight. And that was the card finished. I do hope you like the card, that you found the colour theory helpful, and that maybe this video's given you a couple of ideas that you can use in your own card making. If it has, please do let me know in the comments, like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, you know the drill, and I will see you back here very soon for another clean and simple card making video. Thanks for watching, bye for now.